Hello, everyone. Welcome back to a special anniversary episode of the SATAMonkeys Podcast. I'm your host, Earth the Fatt, and today I'm joined by Rhineeks, or Cat Image,
Hello.
Nutpack, or JWC. Come, okay. And Bear is no, or Bears
No.
speak. No. So, although our normal release is actually one day before the anniversary episode would have aired, we're going to be delaying this episode by one day to coincide with it.
Fuck the system.
Fuck. I debated just recording another one super quickly so we could release 2 days in a row, and then I thought that makes no sense at all. That actually makes no sense at all.
We could call it a 1.5.
Yeah, sure. We could do another 0.5 episode like we did for the Christmas
Yeah.
episode, but I just didn't feel like it. I figured, we didn't do like the first episode as who gives a fuck. We actually, I believe, had topics, and we did discuss some stuff.
Slayer and Edge podcast.
Do this Slayer and Edge podcast.
Do you have the files of that?
The only file I have the original graphics for it, or at least a lot of them.
You should show that on screen right now.
If I can find it, they're buried in the 6 tear, but
Man.
they're somewhere.
Dan, you guys would hate who Matt actually wanted to do this podcast with.
Yeah, I have that recording with. Actually, no, I deleted that. I deleted that last year. Because I've been holding on to it, and I'm like, I'm not gonna use this. What would I use this for?
Defamation of character?
Well, there was nothing damning in it. It's just like I was thinking about, I'll release this one day. It's like a testament to the original podcast. And I'm like, no, I won't. It's not that good. We had audio issues. It ended 40 minutes early. Or like the recording did, rather, because this was on the shit PC. This was on the Pentium 4th gen 8 gigs of RAM system. And with 160 gig hard drive. Did not have enough storage for the recording. But yeah, no, the original podcast, before it was the SATAMonkeys Podcast, was called Slayer and Edge. It was actually gonna have one other host who I just kind of vaguely knew, who just agreed to do it. We were just spitballing back and forth, and he agreed to.
Ray William Johnson.
No.
He turned out to be an asshole too. So
I never knew him as an asshole. I know you have there. I never knew him that way. I just
Hey.
I barely knew him, to be fair.
True. Hey, I got some hatred words for him. All
Yeah.
hatred on these ends.
Me
and my homies hate that dude.
After our
Boom,
failed
boom.
recording of the first episode, he never ever showed up for any subsequent anything, and nothing ever came of it. And then I decided, well, why don't I try doing it with Zaire? That also never really came to fruition. I don't even think
we did. We recorded it because remember I had to use your laptop, and we recorded too. It was not. It wasn't a computer podcast though. That was It was different. It was actually. I actually do kind of like what we were talking about then. It was just social things that we were talking about in school and just in life.
Yeah,
that one was really cool.
That was it.
I actually did like that. That was really fun doing that.
Yeah.
And then we talked about some other things and which was really cool. And then I think since Matt and I were playing Roblox all the time and hacking in, what game was it?
Apocalypse Rising.
Yeah, we were doing that and playing Infestation at that time. Matt was like, "Oh, you want to do the podcast?" I was like, "Sure." And so it wasn't a tech podcast at that point.
Yeah, and there definitely wasn't the same level of quality we have now.
Oh, absolutely. No, I had a blue snowball. No, blue snowball ice.
Yeah, snowball ice. Because no one wanted to pay the extra $10.
Nah, we needed that for R6 credits or CSGO keys.
I don't actually have either of those original recordings.
Wait, what? What happened to them?
If I do, I'd have to look. What I'd assume is they were also on that 160 gig hard drive. No. So if they're still on it, I could look. But they never. I do not remember them ever migrating to the 6 tear. I think what happened is I left some files on the 160 gig when I went to a 1 tear, and then I transferred everything from the 1 tear to the 6 tear. So I don't think there's any way it would have made it over. And that 160 gig has been dropped down the stairs. It still works. I might be able to pull data from it. I'd have to check.
Pull it.
And I'll see if it's there. I found a song that a artist I listened to deleted that actually in full on that hard drive that I had saved. It's the only copy of it aside from this really shitty one another dude had.
Wait, why did they delete it?
They just didn't like it. which is fine. But I really liked it, and I was curious where it went.
Don't re-upload it because that's actually gonna. Never mind.
No, I talked to him and I asked him, "Yo, can I re-upload this?" He was like, "Sure, go ahead."
Oh, okay. I was gonna say because if he doesn't like it, don't re-upload it because that's a whole nother topic of people.
Yeah. Well, he specifically said he didn't like it and he was gonna remake it, and then he never remade it, and he lost the stems for it, so he just didn't care. But the original recordings may be on that hard drive. What I do remember about that was we recorded 2 because we were going to record a bunch in advance and then release them like weekly as a test run. We did 2.
It went well, and then we just stopped. We got busy. Like we just started doing things all together.
Yeah, and they never released.
They never released, and I think this is when you were editing on Filmora. Oh my gosh. That was a long ass time ago.
And then a lot of time passed, and then I kind of decided I still really want to do a podcast. Me and Zaya still really wanted to do one, and
we just never did.
Yeah, we never did.
We played games for hours on end, and it was like, oh yeah, we have a podcast.
Yeah, we keep talking about it and then never do it. In around 2017 or 2018, I converted a meme server I ran called the KFC Cult to the SATAMonkeys, and kind of, try to rebrand as best I could to a tech discussion server, and it had a little boost because it had like 30 people in it. And that name literally stems from the term grease monkey, like from a car, but SATA just being a substitute for computer, because computer monkey sounds basic and kind of dumb. And I liked how SATAmonkey sounded, so that's how that name came to be, and we've just stuck with it. And then eventually we did start the podcast. We got a lot of people who really were on board with it. Some of them no longer with the podcast, some of them just not here today, like Charles, who we have literally heard one message from like 2 to 3 weeks, and it's, "I'm not gonna make today's podcast." I have not heard from it. I hope he's okay.
I think he's okay. I think he's on break too.
Right
now we're recording this in school break.
Yeah. Well, but he said he'd been sick, and then he said the last time I talked to him, he said, "I don't know, I don't feel too good. I think I might be sick." And then we ended calling and just have not heard from him. So I hope he's all right. And then Melon could make today because it is Ash Wednesday and he had prior commitments. But yeah, we're all here. We picked up some new people along the way, like Rob. Yeah. But we do still have Zaire, Charles, who's not here, and Epic.
Yeah, which is good. I like it. We had to call a vote kick, team kick, clutcher kick situation. We had
some issues with prior podcast members, and that's why you haven't seen them in podcast sense. But I'm not gonna talk about everything there. I wish them the best of luck on their next endeavors. Let's get in here to the first topic. And fair warning again, although this sucks that it's a slow news week. It's been a slow tech news week on the anniversary podcast, which is kind of annoying. This is from Android Authority. LastPass free users are now stuck with Sophie's choice. I don't know what that means. Exclusivity PC or mobile. Or exclusively PC or mobile. LastPass, which is it's a password management app that you can store passwords in, I guess. I'm not sure why you'd need that and not just the built-in one into Chrome, but whatever.
I think I saw LastPass. It's not like the Raid Shadow Legends of YouTube ads, but it used to be like a like one of those YouTube like people.
Yeah, I remember Linus Tech Tips did a ton of LastPass ads.
Yeah, but it's okay for what it is. Like if you have an antivirus, they probably have a password protector, so it doesn't really matter. So.
LastPass is now, instead of free users being able to access all their passwords on both mobile and PC, now next time they log into it, whatever type of device they logged into it on, be it PC or mobile, that's all they can use it on now, which is one of the dumbest fucking things I think I've ever heard. It's such a shitty and scummy way to push free users into paying for shit. Like, what's that? You literally accidentally opened the app after this? Like, per se, no one's heard the news. Someone hasn't heard this news. They opened the app, like, by accident, and then they try and access it on their PC, like, 5 days later, and they can't. But even so, just in general.
In that point, and theoretically, couldn't you just use, like, a remote connector? Like how you do with your phone, Matt, and then just remote connect in, act like you're on your computer, but then you're actually on your phone. That's just a lot of steps.
Yeah, it's a lot of steps for not a lot of usefulness.
Results.
Yeah.
I'd rather pay the $36 a year than do that.
I'd literally rather just save them in a fucking notepad file on a flash drive. Like that's the easiest and best way to do it.
You're gonna connect a flash drive to your phone?
Well, I mean for PC, but even let's say micro SD. If you have an SD card, if you have a phone with a micro SD and an SD card reader,
you can save it on your phones for notes if you have an iPhone.
Yeah, and there's other shit. What is it? There are certain apps, I believe, that are free on iPhone. They don't steal your data. I don't know them off the top of my head, but I know there are a few that literally have like cross-compatible notes. But also, simple way to do it: just put them in a fucking Google Doc.
Oh, that actually does
smart.
make sense.
I haven't thought about that. I probably should transfer mine over to Google.
Like if you.
Really smart.
And again, also to Chrome, both like it will sync with mobile and everything. It'll save your passwords in your Google account. So, but if you needed them like written down and everything, literally just put them in a Google Doc. If you're worried about account security, make a new Google account, make some stupidly, insanely long and unpredictable password, write it down on a Post-it note, put it on your wall or something, and then just log into that account on everything quickly. There you go. And now you're that's the only thing that account's ever used for is that one Google Doc with the passwords. The chances of anyone getting into it are pretty fucking slim. If it's like a 100-character long keyboard spam, it's no one's getting into that. That's your best bet.
Have like a freaking put like a note in your wallet or something. There's multiple ways, and I won't be so surprised if this LastPass completely disappears off the face of the earth.
I kind of would, because they've been around for a fat minute. They're definitely not like unheard of or anything. They've been around, but
the big two I know about are LastPass and Dashlane.
Yeah,
I've heard of Dashlane.
Yeah, Dashlane, you can only store on a free thing. You can only store up to 50 passwords, but works both on phone and computer. But this thing with LastPass only working on one, it's like, do you go with either having all of them on one platform or having only 50 on both?
Yeah. Again, Google Doc is really a great method.
Or do that.
Yeah. It's funny because there'll be people who say, "Oh, well, I don't want Google knowing that information." You think Google are gonna log into your accounts? Like that is such a giant lawsuit waiting to happen, and it's not like Google workers are paid
some obscene things on your Snapchat story. Ugh.
Yeah, it's the type of shit where that's realistically never going to happen. It has the same likelihood of happening as someone like getting into your LastPass account or someone getting into X or Y or Z. There's always a chance it can happen, but there's not a great chance. It's not like confirmed if you put your passwords in a Google Doc, Google employees are going to access it, because they won't. There's a pretty fucking high chance they won't, because they can't. They will get fired, sued, and pretty much jailed, I would bet, since it's a violation of privacy laws. They can't do that. Your passwords, as long as it's on a safe account, are literally safe in like a Google Doc. If someone wants to debate me on that in the comments, please do, because I have a feeling I'll get at least one comment of someone saying like, that is the dumbest fucking idea I've ever heard. But I genuinely don't think it is. You can cross share it between devices, and as long as the account's safe, it's fine.
You can offline connect to your Google Drive.
Yeah. So
you literally don't even have to like have a paper. You can literally offline connect to Google Drive. I've never used it, so I don't know what you can do.
It just downloads certain files offline.
Yeah, so just download the actual file that you want, and then
Well, but you see, what that could open up, like, if there's some type of device exploit, if you have it downloaded, then it could be accessed easier. That's why keeping it in the cloud with Google would be a safer bet.
True.
There's certain parts of it I could understand, but if just keeping it in docs, I don't know why that's not the most commonly recommended method. If you're gonna have some password thing like that, I know my dad is very old school, and we literally just have some papers like printed out with a bunch of passwords on them, sitting in a hidden spot in the house, like 2 to 3 pages.
Yeah, my grandmother's like that. I remember she has like this whole paper like filled with addresses, and it's like bursting with like small little papers. Like Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And then most of my passwords are like a couple folders deep in a text file.
Oof, that's a good idea.
Yeah, and it has like an odd name, so you really would look past it.
Yeah, there's stuff I should probably hide on my computer, like my MetaMask password or my Coinbase, or rather that MetaMask is a crypto wallet, so I may want to hide some of that stuff.
Or put it into external hard drive, and then have.
I could put it on an external hard drive or a flash drive or something, but.
What was a good encrypted external hard drive? Because I remember you and I were talking about this. For some reason, we were talking about encrypted external hard drives. I think you were making fun of it, and I was like, "Oh wait, but that's actually kind of smart for like important stuff like Bitcoin or stuff like that."
Oh yeah, for what it's worth, I've enabled BitLocker on my 6TB, which is probably part of why it's so awful with its performance, because it's unencrypting the file every single time. And I've also enabled drive compression. My 6TB is really nearly full, and every half of it's compressed down too. But yeah, I don't know. If you have, I gotta stop saying I don't know. It's been a year now of saying that. If you have LastPass and you're looking for a alternative, Google fucking Docs is a amazing alternative. Just put it in Google Docs or put it in any number of other secure wireless document things like Google Docs. I just know if Google was ever to get hacked like that and accounts were to be compromised, it'll be all over the news and it'll be like everyone. It's not going to be a subset of people most likely unless they just have really shit passwords.
I feel like if it's going to be at that point, it's going to be a government thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's not, it's going to affect everyone, not just you. So your best bet is probably to just put it in Google Docs. Or if you're more old school, literally type it in a notepad, put it on a flash drive or some portable media, or just print it out on a piece of paper. You name it. There are many other solutions that are better than LastPass.
Just don't get robbed.
Yeah, and it's important to note that we have not even looked into, before the podcast started, we didn't even look into, open source alternatives. Because I bet you there's an open source LastPass alternative or something like that.
Likely.
With password management stuff, I can't imagine there isn't. So that is potentially another option. We have not looked at any. They should exist in theory. I don't know if they do or not, but if you can find a good one online that works, use that too, I guess. Do whatever you want, but I wouldn't recommend paying money to LastPass and shit. Also, if I'm correct, I'm gonna look at this up on my phone so I don't misspeak. Didn't LastPass get hacked at one point? I could have sworn they did. Let's see here. LastPass hacking. Let's see if there was ever a LastPass hack. Interesting. So they have not been hacked. Have they? Google warns LastPass users were exposed to LastPassword credential leak. That's 2019. So yeah, it looks like they haven't been directly hacked, but they've been involved with a hacking or something like that. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
Yeah. But then again, that can also be countered with the argument of who to trust. Why would you trust Google more with your data than LastPass like that if they're not immune? And that also mentioned Google in it, a Google-related thing. So I don't know. You have to choose the best method for yourself. If you genuinely think LastPass or Dashlane are your best bet, okay. But I would personally recommend if you really need an online, always accessible thing, put it in a Google Doc or. Although I don't think they're as safe, if you needed a different one that's not Google for whatever reason, mega.nz, just put it in a text document in Mega. OneDrive, no one uses OneDrive. Dropbox, you name it, any file type thing like that. Good alternative. It doesn't autofill your passwords, but it certainly does the passwords across all devices.
Every big company has shady in some way. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. We'll move on here.
Oh wait, can we bring up one? Are we gonna do what is it? I just thought about this. Are we gonna do self-brought in news stuff? Because I have something that's kind of just happened to me, but it's weird.
We can do it towards the end. You should have shared it before.
No, I wasn't. It just came up in my head. That's why I was just thinking about it.
We'll do that towards the end. We'll move on here to a kind of development on a story we previously covered about Carl Pei, the former I can't speak today. Carl Pei, the former, I believe, CEO of OnePlus and founder, Nothing Technologies, his new company, has bought Essential, and apparently they actually bought Essential like last month, but it's just now like been found by looking through government filings. So Essential, who I actually looked up the other day because I wondered, man, is there ever going to be an Essential phone like 3? Because I think there was a 2. And I didn't realize they just kind of don't operate anymore. Apparently they were bought out by Nothing, which is Carl Pei's new company.
They were not bought out.
It is still unclear what Carl Pei intends to do exactly with Nothing, but they have not made any mention prior of making smartphones. They've made mentions of making smart hubs and other smart type devices, but not smartphones.
What the hell is a smart hub?
Think like the Apple HomePod or the Google Home.
So another thing that's to listen to you all the time. So something
that's another Alexa essentially. Although I mentioned the 2 lesser known ones instead of Alexa first, how did I manage that?
Yeah, I mean, I understood. It just the ones that listen to you all the time, it probably tracks you.
Yeah. I don't know. Some of these screenshots
Alexa,
are cool.
Order an iPhone 11.
That candy bar phone, I remember, was all over for a bit before Essential said we can't sell. We don't have enough anything to do it. We're shutting down. I remember that phone got a lot of hype, and I really genuinely don't know why. It literally looks like the memes of after the iPhone 5 came out, where people said iPhone 10. It was like 25 inches tall. Like that's exactly what that reminds me of. Just a tall phone. Although I don't know how that'd be useful. Also, what aspect ratio is that? That's like 4:16. That's insane.
That's a gamer right there.
It's the candy bar phone for sure. I do like the color schemes though. It's clear Essential put effort into their phones. Fun fact: the Essential Phone 1 was almost the phone I got instead of the OnePlus 5T. The only thing that really pushed me over the edge was the durability of the 5T. But the Essential Phone 1 is still one of my favorite looking phones of all time. It just still looks premium. And that's not, I should say this now, that's not a praise of the CEO of Essential, or the former CEO of Essential, who was also the founder of Android, who also has a bunch of like sexual allegations against him and shit. That is not a praise of him,
no.
Rather a praise of Essential as a company. They really did make some like banger products. They made some really quality products, and they were almost my choice for a phone, but it was the durability of the 5T that pushed me to it, and also the fact that I believe when I was buying it, Essential just said like, oh yeah, we're shutting down. So it didn't make sense to buy an Essential phone to not ever get support for it. But it should be interesting to see if Nothing like take any concepts that Essential had and release them or adapt them into a new product, or why exactly they bought them, because a lot of Essential employees left and made their own spin-off company of Essential that is unrelated but is security-based, and are looking to release a security-based phone by the end of 2021. I'm trying to find here where it is. Osam Privacy. It should release early 2021. It is not released yet, and quarter 1 is ending at the end of next month, so we should be seeing that by the end of next month. Should be interesting. I don't really necessarily get this purchase other than wanting to keep Essential alive, because it really was meant to be like the full open source Android experience. So I don't really know what's going to happen here. But I do hope something cool comes of it. Essential had really good design taste, and I really want to see some of Essential's design taste brought over to Nothing. Then again, we don't exactly know what Nothing's designs look like. Carl Pei's previous work at OnePlus isn't exactly a great example, because like the OnePlus 5T is literally a phone that Oppo, the parent company of OnePlus, released in China that was slightly modified for the US. All of the OnePlus phones that you've seen are literally slightly modified versions of ones released in China. So their design language is not very creative. So I'm not sure if Carl Pei, how creative his design language is. Then again, he's the CEO, he's not leading the design. Either way, should be interesting to see what comes of it. I want to see then Essential Phone 3. If that's not already a thing. I don't remember how many Essential phones they released. I just remember I like the first one. But I don't know.
Searched up Essential Phone and I only saw 2, so.
All right, so Essential Phone 1 and 2. I didn't like the 2. I thought the 2 looked kind of bad, and most of the reviews were kind of bad. But the Essential Phone 1 seemed to really kick ass when it was released. So yeah, that's just this little small update here to Nothing, which we covered a few weeks ago. They've now acquired Essential. We'll move on here to another Android-related thing. This is from Threat Post, but there are other things covering it that were more heard of than Threat Post, because I've never heard of this website before now. Unpatched Android app with 1 billion downloads threatens spying and malware. Attackers can exploit SHAREit permissions to execute malicious code through vulnerabilities that remain unpatched 3 months after app makers were informed. Which is kind of fucking insane. And also, I need to look up this app right now because I'm pretty sure I used this app in the past. I used this 2 years ago.
I've never heard of this app.
Me neither.
This app was actually like genuinely good way to share files between Android and PC without like plugging in your phone, going through the folders, finding where to like. This was a really just simple way to just
Bluetooth?
like.
Yeah.
Well,
so
yeah,
like,
but on a device that doesn't have Bluetooth.
So like Dropbox, but like
funky.
Simpler.
Not Dropbox. You mean? I don't know what you mean. No, it was pretty much just you install the client on your computer, you have it on your phone, you literally just put the photo in, like swipe up, and it just sends it to the PC in full quality.
Nice.
Very simple app. I knew I recognized the name. It's a good thing I don't use it anymore, and I used that for like 10 photos, I think. And I believe that was on my very shitty Asus Zenfone 2E. That was not on my OnePlus 5T. That was too long ago to be that. It definitely was 2018. The more I think about it, was earlier. Wow. I mean, okay, you know it's big when it's an app that I've downloaded. I don't download a lot of shit that's not heard of to the majority. But
it's big when I've never heard of it.
Well, it says 1 billion people, and I consider myself pretty tech savvy and pretty security minded, and I've downloaded it, so that I guess this damages my credibility in some form. Apparently reading this entire article was a headache because it goes into a lot of specifics that my small brain doesn't understand.
The minutia of it, which is really shitty, or like what was so bad about it, like the details of what.
I said, in terms of the article here, it just seems as if there's a specific broadcast complement that can show that any app can invoke that can show internal shit with SHAREit. I don't know. We will definitely link this article in the description for anyone to read. My brain literally cannot fucking comprehend it.
Matt, don't you have a actual thing that you said it shares to your PC, right?
Yeah, you get
Don't you have an app that does that now? It's like X something that you use?
No, I do not.
You said you accidentally. I remember you said you have on your OnePlus now that you like have an app that connects your photos to your TV. No, that's copy and paste. You did something. Remember you sent me the diss track on Discord and you had an app like that? Or is that something different?
I do not necessarily remember that, but it could have either been. You're either thinking of Megasync, which I do have because I have a Mega account, or it could have been.
No, because you sent me a link. You're like, wait, I had that link on my phone, and you Discord linked it to me.
The only thing I can think of like that is I have Putty, which allowed me to connect to the Minecraft server back when, or not the Minecraft part of it, but the actual server back when it ran Linux. I could use Putty on my phone to remote connect to it in a terminal. That's the only thing I can think of like that. But it could have actually been SHAREit, what you're talking about.
No, this is literally like a few weeks ago.
All right. I could have, I don't know. The more I think about it, I probably did download SHAREit for like 5 seconds at one point to send a file over something. So yeah, I really don't understand this exploit, but I can tell it's pretty bad. We'll leave it in the description. I'd encourage you, if you've used SHAREit, to definitely check out this article and make sure everything's okay. I'd uninstall SHAREit for now. Either until they fix their shit or just find something new. Although there's not a lot of stuff that I knew of at the time other than SHAREit that could just direct stuff to your computer if you had the client installed. But there probably is now. So yeah, be careful out there. If you have SHAREit, be warned, there is a security flaw, but thankfully I do not use SHAREit anymore, and I used it on a shitty ass phone many years ago that I don't even have anymore, so I don't think the chance of any type of security thing is, I'm gonna be fine. But yeah, let's move on here to news that I'm really fucking excited about, because there's not been news on this game since like last year. So I thought
it was 2 years ago. It felt like, or a year and a half.
No, I believe it was early 2020. There was like the last news on it.
I did not hear about this.
Rainbow Six Quarantine won't become Rainbow Six Parasite. Ubisoft clarified this from PCGamer.com. And the context of this article here is a screenshot, I believe this said, of a PS5, did it say? Either way, a test of the game. Yeah, PSN, PlayStation Network. Thing of Rainbow Six Parasite, showing an image of Ella being, for lack of a better term, like consumed by a black mass parasite looking thing, was leaked, and it has been confirmed by Ubisoft to not be the new name of Rainbow Six Quarantine, but a just current name, a development name that will later be changed. Yeah. This is most likely because, and I think this is obvious, they changed it because the name Quarantine is not great. Yeah. At the time, it was fine, and then COVID hit, and now for obvious reasons, it is not a great name for your game. For those who are unaware, Rainbow Six Parasite, or Quarantine, or whatever you want to call it at this point, it doesn't have an official name yet.
COVID, the electric boogaloo,
is essentially a originally started development as, it's unknown what it's like now because there's no gameplay released, but it originally started development as a fully fledged game based off of the, I believe it was Halloween, but it may not have been, expansion.
It wasn't even it was the Operation Outbreak.
Yeah,
or...
Operation
Blood
Outbreak.
Orchid? No, not Blood Orchid. It was Outbreak.
That little like series, and I think you just said this, but wasn't like that a little like special thing that popped up for like a month?
3 months, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because I remember you guys talked about it.
It was awesome. It was
actually cool. Ever. It had its issues. But
big-headed Jaeger.
Oh, that was amazing.
That was beautiful.
But the gist of what Outbreak was, it was a limited time siege game mode. I think the Outbreak game mode only lasted a month, but I think the whole like operator thing lasted 3. It was during the update that added Lion and Finka. Would their backstory be related to Outbreak, I believe, or at least being part of that type of thing. Outbreak was literally, the best way to sum it up, COD Zombies with the tactical nature of Siege. It was literally Siege Zombies.
There was nothing tactical about it.
I'm saying Siege is tactical gameplay.
It's basically somewhat, from what I can remember, it's like the newer zombies, like Black Ops Cold War zombies.
I hadn't played Cold War Zombies.
You haven't played it, yeah. No. I played it. It's exactly like that.
It's not. Well, I wouldn't say exactly, because it definitely doesn't feel exactly like COD. It did feel, a lot of things felt like Siege, which were Siege has a lot of really weighty gunplay and movement. And that's just how Siege is. I had thought for a while, legitimately, I had been thinking for a few months after I got Siege, it'd be really cool for like a Siege Zombies game. And I was very, very surprised one day to see the new operators drop. And also there's a new game mode that is literally that. I don't believe that was ever, like, they didn't say anything about that before it was released. But what made it big compared to any other Siege event that's happened since, actually there are exceptions, because I believe there have been Siege events since with other game modes, but none like Outbreak, where it was essentially its own 3-level fully fledged game. May have been a few more than three levels. It really was, though, its own game. It didn't feel like you were playing Siege necessarily. It felt like Call of Duty Zombies with Siege elements. And it was some of the most fun I think I've ever had with that game. Whereas normal Siege can be really, really stressful and annoying and grindy.
Worst time ever in my life. Oh, dear God.
Outbreak was the type of game mode where, with the exception, I don't remember the name of the level, there was one specific level that just blew ass. But with that exception, you could lose 3 times over and still have fun. It was
it would be fun because you're getting overrun, and then there's just so many aspects of it. Like, people are jumping from jumping from the ceilings. I remember, I think.
Yeah. Oh my God, it was great. Shit crawling on the walls. it had a lot of, and to describe, although again, I'd encourage anyone listening to go look up Outbreak or look up gameplay of it. It is phenomenal. It was phenomenal. I remember a lot of the enemy design seemed to be not based off of, but heavily inspired by like Doom 2016. Especially after playing like Doom Eternal, looking at Doom 2016, very similar, like grotesque, red and black, gory enemy design, very similar, but it's its own distinct thing. It was really good. Quarantine, Ubisoft stated originally was it stemmed from the developers behind Outbreak really liked it so much they wanted it to become its own game. So they kind of treated Outbreak as its own little test to see if the community would like it. I remember there were a lot of people that hated it.
No, people really liked it. Was buggy, that's why. Because at the time, R6 was still buggy and they still have problems from that year. So they haven't fixed the problems in R6, but it was still cool for the community.
Yeah. And then also keep in mind, what you're developing there is essentially level, like 3 to, I think it was 5, but it may have just been 3. I know there were only 3 maps. But 3 maps and a bunch of levels for what it really amounts to an entirely different game within another game. And you also have like 3 months to do this, because of you just finished up the last operator thing. Now do this one and its event. Go. So for like what I assume is about 3 months development, potentially 6 months, because I think I read it was 6 months because they started a bit early. It was insane what they accomplished. It was really polished. Like for the most part, it was really polished. There were bugs, which is to be expected. It was in the end of the day, it's a rush set of levels from what could be its own game. But for what it was really polished, and I remember it very, very happily. I
could have sworn that we did a video on this. Were we recording at the time, man?
We were recording. I definitely don't have that footage anymore because there was a friend that I had a falling out with, and I just deleted all of it.
Well, he wasn't in that. He might have been in some of it. Dang. That was actually some really good times, though.
It was. I remember I started making it into a video. I do remember that, but Femora was fucking up, and I was already on the fence about it. I'm like, I'll just delete it. I don't fucking care. And then I went back again, like last year, and deleted a bunch of old Siege footage that I knew I just wasn't going to use anymore. I do remember, and also a lot of it was Shadowplay footage, and my mic through NVIDIA Shadowplay does not sound proper at all. It sounds disgusting, and that also was part of it. I don't know why it does that, by the way, but it does. Anyways, Outbreak, after Outbreak's success, apparently an internal team at Ubisoft, the same people who developed Outbreak, just kind of got permission to shift into development of their own Outbreak-based game. Now, how much Quarantine, now Parasite, now whatever it's called, has evolved since Outbreak, and if it's even the same thing, we don't know, because there's been no gameplay revealed, only a cinematic trailer and now this image. I'm very much hoping it's similar to Outbreak, and they haven't strayed too far. Although, iteration on it would be pretty cool, because it was pretty bare bones. But this is one of the few games that I most definitely will be buying the day it comes out. Provided it really is Outbreak, but enhanced and its own thing. If it's not that anymore, I probably won't. But there are very few games. I know everyone here in the podcast, you, Zaire, Epic, and Rob, you guys will know I barely ever buy games at full price on the launch
legally.
Day.
Oh, full price. My bad.
Full price. The last one was Doom Eternal. I don't pirate games anymore. I literally don't. That was when I didn't have money to buy them. There's exceptions, as in games that you cannot get anymore. I will pirate because necessity. I have to.
I need this game.
Well, like Transformers Fall of Cybertron, the only way to get it is through. I can buy it through like Amazon Canada and go through a bunch of shit to try and get it for $50, which is overpriced, to get a physical CD copy that I don't, or not CD, DVD, whatever it's media it's on, that I don't know if it'll even come, and it doesn't look to be from Activision. No, their servers are down as well. They deleted the source code internally for the game, most likely. It's not sold. I have to pirate it. The non-game, the T-Pain engine, which is essentially one of the only really, really good auto-tuners. Not a vocoder. Most people call vocoders auto-tuners, but an actual live auto-tuner. Was released in like 2011. Didn't sell a lot. Was shut down. You cannot buy it.
I saw you using that on Discord, actually.
Yeah.
I saw. Was that like a few weeks ago?
Try about a year, but I used it a ton.
Never mind then. Never mind. That's something different.
But yeah, no, the T-Pain effect, I had to pirate it. Because you cannot buy it. I've looked into the other day buying a license key for it because I needed it for something. You can't even get a license key. You just can't get it. So, there are some things I need to pirate, but I don't pirate games anymore. But in terms of buying games at full price, the last game I bought I will call it full price only because I bought it from a key shop, but they got it from id Software directly. It was a deal with them, or Bethesda rather. So I still count that. Was the Doom Eternal Most Enhanced Whatever Edition that didn't come with the physical helmet. It was $57. And then before that, famously for me, the only other game I bought at full price before that I can remember was Lego Batman 2 when it released on my birthday, June 22nd in 2012, for the Wii. That is the only game before Doom Eternal that I remember specifically buying at launch at full price. I don't count games that were like a console released and I bought the console that came bundled with it. That doesn't really count. I didn't have a choice. But yeah, that I don't buy games at full price. But I remember saying during both when Quarantine was announced and when playing Outbreak, if this ever becomes a full game, I am buying it the second it comes out. I'll buy the best version provided it isn't super expensive, but I'm buying it. This
hopefully
is sick.
It's been years now, and it sucks that
it literally has been years. Yeah. And to be fair, they've had years to develop the game, which is really cool. That Ubisoft greenlit it. Keep in mind, although it's Rainbow Six Quarantine is almost all but confirmed to be a multiplayer experience, it is the first Siege story-driven experience. It's because it seems like it will be story-driven. Since what was the Siege game before, or what was the Rainbow Six game before Siege?
I think it's Rainbow Six Las Vegas.
Rainbow Six, yeah. It'll be the first game since then. And considering Ubisoft canceled, I forget the name of it now, the Rainbow Six game that ended up turning into Siege and did convert it into Siege, and they're now greenlight a potentially story-based Siege game that either way is definitely not. Go ahead.
My thing is, they had the base code for it, right? Why couldn't they have just added the quarantine thing before? Like, they could have re-added it to R6 to keep the community going. And if it took them 3 months to build that, they could have made custom maps, have maps from in R6, what is it? I forgot the R6 maps now. Never mind. They could have added just maps, but implemented the quarantine or aspect of it.
I guarantee here are the motives behind it. I can guarantee you were it. They probably wanted, at least the main developers behind it, they probably wanted a bit more freedom in terms of what all they can do and the limitations of Siege's engine, because Siege's engine is pretty old. I guarantee you, Quarantine will not be running on the same engine exactly as Siege. It'll be either running on a more enhanced version or maybe a different engine altogether. But Siege does have a pretty old engine at this point. I can imagine them wanting to jump ship and make something specifically made for this game that can handle it better. I remember particle effects were really they're really good with Outbreak, but they were super fucking intensive for no reason. And it was clear it was one of the limitations of the engine. But it was probably money. They can spin it off into its own game and get people to buy a brand new game. I guarantee you that's part of it. There's no other way it would have been greenlit. But also, from a community standpoint, if they just kept it in like that as a game mode, it would very, very quickly get stale and forgotten.
I'm not talking about as a consistent game. I'm
brought
talking
it back.
Brought it back at least once a year. Had one map of something. It was one time, and then everyone's like, "What happened to this?" Do you not remember every time?
I remember that. Yeah.
Everyone's like, "Wait, this was cool," and you just took it away, and then waited more time for the Halloween map, which is cool, but it's not the same.
That probably stems from the fact that the developers behind this game probably really did want way more time to put a lot more love and care into it than the crunch time they likely had to go through to get what they were trying to show out the door. It's also very unclear internally at Ubisoft if the guys behind Outbreak did it out of passion or out of necessity, but from what it seems like they did it out of passion. And I have a feeling they were way too passionate to say, yeah, we'll just release it again in a year with a few bug fixes. They really probably wanted to flesh it out into a big thing, and it is big enough that it would outgrow Siege itself. It would have to be its own thing. They could have done it in Siege. I can't imagine it would do it as well, like re-releasing in Siege. What I do want them to do is either within Parasite, Quarantine, whatever its name is, within it, or in Rainbow Six Siege itself, in some form, make the original Outbreak maps playable again in the same form they were, all the bugs and everything, just as a testament to here's where we started and here's where we are now. If they wanted to bug fix them a bit. It'd be cool to at least see them in Parasite, or at the very least see them bug fixed and put back as a 1 month thing in Siege to promote Parasite and say, if you've missed Outbreak, here you go. Maybe add some new charms. So
if you missed Outbreak for 3 years.
Well, but there are a lot of people I know that just went and bought Siege for Outbreak and were disappointed. Yeah, there are definitely people who would go and buy Siege and would get back on and play Siege if Outbreak came back one more time. It would also be a great way to introduce players in Siege to the concept of buying Parasite, or whatever its name will end up being. It's like, hey, here's a taste of gameplay. Provided the gameplay is similar enough. It could be a little taste of gameplay for free, and then if you want the rest of it, pay the premium. I don't mind it. I definitely don't mind that it's a different game. I kind of wish they would bring it back, but I'm happy if it doesn't come back and it's its own game. I'd be happier if we got to see the original Outbreak stuff again. That said, I guarantee to you someone's probably backed up the map files and all the data for the Outbreak maps and will find a way to load them in again, if there isn't already. There's no way someone hasn't done that. But yeah, I will. If more news on this game comes out, we'll definitely be covering it probably first, because I really am looking forward to this game. There are very few games I will actively look forward to like that. God, if Minecraft 2 came out, I probably wouldn't be as looking forward to it as this.
What the hell would a Minecraft 2 be?
I don't know, but you get that let's say a Hytale, which is high pixels.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
Yeah, I'm not nearly as hyped for Hytale as I am for Rainbow Six Quarantine. This looks really good. Or at least, sorry, the original cinematic looked really good. Outbreak was really good. I hope Parasite, or whatever, I'm going to call it Parasite, that's the name listed here. I hope Parasite ends up being just as good as Outbreak, if not better. It doesn't stray too far. And I hope the developers really kept the passion behind it that was very clearly present in Outbreak, and it didn't just become a corporate project that they just shit out, and it has microtransactions and all that garbage. I really hope it's got the same level of quality. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Yeah. I just want to mention something. I'm really, really worried that I'm just thinking. I'm hoping it doesn't have the same reception as Metal Gear Survive.
I barely remember that game releasing. I remember Melon talked about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
People either said it was bad or what. Basically, it was just that. I'm really hoping that doesn't happen with this new Rainbow Six game.
Yeah. If there's one thing,
I remember seeing the cinematic and I found it extremely interesting.
If there's one thing Rainbow Six Parasite could improve on, at the most over Outbreak, it was the music. Outbreak had no music really. And with the type of game it was, it could benefit from some really good music, especially, coming off of Doom Eternal still a year later. That game, the music in that game elevates the combat to a whole nother level that is just entirely, you don't really understand it till you played it. Quarantine could benefit from having music, because Outbreak didn't, and the combat was great. It'd just be a lot better with amazing music. But we'll move on here to not shilling a game that's not released yet, although I'm just really excited. I'll move on here to something else game related and also Stadia related. Unfortunately, Google exec reportedly praised Stadia Game Studio right before shutting them down. This is from XDA developers. A week before Google announced they're shutting down Stadia Games and Entertainment, a studio developing first-party games for Stadia, executives praised staff for making great progress in building a diverse and talented team. And it's a report. They say here a report from Kotaku saying essentially what this has said. Executives did praise, looks like, Google Stadia Vice President and General Manager Phil Harrison sent an optimistic email to the developer saying good job, and then a week later they're shutting down. which is very misleading and not. It's not right. It's very inappropriate. Not in the normal term of that usage. Not in the normal way that word's used. But it's that is unacceptable. That's just fucked up. This is what, a week or 2 weeks after Terraria is no longer releasing on Stadia because Google just wouldn't communicate. They're not giving Stadia a great look here.
Stadia didn't look good at the start. I'm sorry, but
I never liked. Here's the thing: I never liked Stadia, but I did like Xbox's wireless gaming thing. But the differences between them, there are a lot, but at their core, they're very, very similar. I think why a lot of people hate Stadia is it's the Google console. It's Google. Let's just give Google more shit. And then also, you can't, like with the Xbox thing, if I'm correct, you can play Xbox games on mobile via streaming, but you can also play them on your Xbox. You don't, the games on Stadia, they don't transfer. They're on Stadia and that's it. Which is very disappointing. When Stadia released, although right after it released, this changed because NVIDIA's policies changed, but there was GeForce Now, which was literally, if you owned the game, like on Steam, you could play it digitally through GeForce Now. That did change for a ton of games.
I thought that was a thing, so.
For a ton of publishers. So what happened is GeForce Now went out of beta and went public. A lot of developers didn't agree to have their games, just like freely distributed like that. Not distributed, but they wanted people to have to buy the game again, essentially. So a bunch of developers just pulled their games from it working. There's still, I know some, and it still is arguably one of the best methods, I think, for playing games like that. But there's a lot that isn't supported. But even after that, a lot of people still saw it as a better alternative. And I know I remember looking into it at the time for a friend who didn't have a computer. There were other services you could do that were similar to Stadia, but were objectively better. I remember for the same price as Stadia and how much money it was a month, you could quite literally buy a virtual computer, like rent one for a certain amount per month.
Oh, I remember you talking about this.
With a decent amount of storage and just buy games on Steam and run it on there and have the same latency, but you have actual control over your shit. You keep the games. They're not locked into Google. They're locked into Steam, which is not going away anytime soon. Is probably too big to die. Which is, depending on how you look at it, a good or bad thing. Either way, Stadia was flawed from the start. That's not news, but it really fucking sucks to see them just shitting on their internal developers. Like, hey, good job. Let's shut you down. After we're going to just be pieces of shit to Terraria and their developers. They're not making themselves look good, and they already didn't look like a great option from the start. It seems at this point like Google's trying to kill Stadia more than they are really trying to help it. At the end of the day, I have a feeling it's just going to be one of the, like, yet another thing to add to the Google graveyard of products, and it's just going to slot in right there with the rest of them. I don't know a single person who uses Stadia. Does anyone here? Because I don't.
I know YouTubers who've made jokes about Stadia, like they use like 2K, everything that isn't on PS4 or PlayStation or Sony or Xbox. 2K is horrible, like PC 2K or stuff like that. They played Stadia. It was one of the hilarious things I've ever seen. It was so funny.
Yeah.
But I don't know any like actual person who uses it.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't think cloud gaming kind of started and is already kind of just fading. Oh man, I don't know how to word this. The way Xbox does it is great. It is probably, to me, the best implementation. The way Stadia does it is an example of the worst. Nothing transfers, everything's on it. If Stadia dies, there goes all your games most likely. It's just not a great solution to anything. It didn't really solve any problem that wasn't already solved. It was just a big company announcing something that acted as if it would solve this problem and didn't, and never would have. I don't know. I think cloud gaming is always going to work best when it's you own the game on something else already and now you're able to play it on the go. Not you're buying a full product to play it wirelessly. That should never be the goal, to play it like without a computer. if they, like for the sole, I don't know, how do I word it? As the sole purpose of just playing without a device that can run those games, I don't think it's great. Cloud gaming works best when you have one device that can run it, but you want to play it on the go or something like that. Yeah. It doesn't work as its own standalone thing. If people want to play games, they'll buy an Xbox or a PS5. They're not going to buy a Stadia. That's just it. Even if they have a phone, they're rather buy that than Stadia, most likely. So I don't know. And in concept too, to be fair, Stadia wasn't, I don't think, the worst thing in the world. But in practice, it's not great. So yeah, just more RIP Stadia, even though it's not dead yet. Premature RIP Stadia. I love how it has 3.5 stars on Google Play. Just a testament to how much people really are like, it's okay. We'll move on here to a story about Asian Andy, who I have heard of, and he's done this shit before, and if I'm correct, we've covered a story exactly like this, but it's a slow news week. Ladbible.com is from them. Twitch streamer makes $16,000 filming himself asleep and letting viewers disturb him. It's literally an Asian Andy stream where he just lets viewers donate stuff with text-to-speech and basically keep them up all night. And that's it. And he made $16,000 off it. How many times a year does he do this? Because I've literally read multiple articles over multiple years of him doing this. He's known for this. I'm not sure why this article is news. I kind of saw Lad by. I'm like, oh, they do some decent articles, and I was hoping this was good, and I read it, and it really wasn't. But we don't really have anything better to put. So yeah, go check out Asian Andy. He's pretty funny, and he's got a lot of funny shit. That's pretty much all there is to this article.
Doesn't this guy always do like text-to-speech stuff, like text-to-speech donations?
Yeah, that's literally his thing.
Yeah, I think you showed me a video of him doing it in a library.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And there's then him doing it in in a Japanese eatery or something like that. Yeah. There's him. There's just so many. He really is known for that. So yeah, check out Asian Andy. He's a pretty funny guy. We'll move on.
Before we move on, I know there's another streamer. I think it was Deller, and he was streaming him sleeping, and he got an alert box, and it was, hey Alexa, order an iPhone 11.
Oh, and there's also like one like, hey Alexa, what's my address?
Yeah, they said in that article that happened to him.
Happened to him?
I thought it said there. Someone said you got the location.
Yeah,
I just hope
people just stupid.
Yeah, I hope those people like that, when they do those streams with the Alexa, they have it on a VPN, and they also don't have a credit card link, and that would eliminate any issues. Unless they have phone numbers linked. I don't know. That's my brain hurts. Move on here to a story from Kotaku. Metal Gear Solid's board game has been canceled. IDW is supposed to be releasing Metal Gear Solid, the board game, later this year, but after a succession of delays, the company has decided to walk away from the project and said, "What? I know for a fact we talked about this briefly on the podcast at some point." Or maybe it was after the podcast. But what was this board game even about? Does anyone know?
I don't know. I'm thinking it was just... like, the way I'm thinking is that it probably has no story, but it's just, like, tactical espionage. Get to this one place without getting spotted. Whatever. That's one... I don't know anything about this game. As a matter of fact, I just found out about it today. Although I did hear some things here and there. But that's all I can assume what it is.
I don't know altogether.
I'm looking it up here, and, man, it really doesn't... It looks really, really complex, and like it would have a really, really niche market.
Tactical espionage.
Wow. Yeah, no, I'm just looking at it here. Oh, there's a demo of it. Okay, this is not as complex as I thought. It looks okay. It looked like it would have been okay. It doesn't look like anything I'd play. I'm not sure where the... Yeah?
I want to just ask something. How many, like... Has anybody been keeping track of, like, board game releases?
I mean...
No.
Yeah, I expect to know, but, like... You know, I think it's just, like, passion stuff to create a freaking, board game nowadays. Like,
I've seen, Sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
If I remember... I may have been last year, may have been the year before, there were a decent few video game board games announced. And this was one of them.
Yeah, and they never came to fruition because they were shitty.
Yeah, what I don't get is how they expect these to sell. People don't want to buy. There's going to be collectors, but that's never the target market of a board game. People aren't going to buy, like fans of Metal Gear, are not going to want to buy a board game. If you're playing Metal Gear,
unless you're an extreme freaking nerd.
Well, yeah, a nerd or a collector, but you're not going to want to buy the board game. You're playing the game because it's more interactive than a board game.
Yeah.
You're not playing it because you'd rather be playing a board game or think that's a great, an amazing idea to go play a board game right now. It's the same reason why people would rather play literally like Hearthstone over Uno. There's a pretty big difference. People aren't going to go buy a physical. Well, okay, with Hearthstone that may be an exception. People will probably buy people would probably buy Hearthstone cards if they released them physically. I wonder if they have.
I think they do.
But if there's like a full like physical Hearthstone game, it's not going to get nearly the traction as I guarantee like the investors would think it would.
What do you mean a Hearthstone game?
Like a fully fledged Hearthstone like physical card game.
Oh, well, the card games in general are dying. Like Magic's the only one that's really still popular, but I don't really know about the Magic scene like that.
No, I know. I just mean the clout of a video game does not carry over to physical card game or board game.
Clout leads a long way.
Yeah, but the Metal Gear series is like well revered as one of the best series of all time, and yet it's not. And I don't see people jumping off the fucking walls for the Metal Gear Solid board game. It can only go so far, and it seems pretty reliant on if I can look up Metal Gear Solid board game and the first like 6 images are just images of what comes in the box or the box, and there's like 5 images so far of like actual gameplay or what the things look like. It's clear they're relying on it's Metal Gear. Buy it. It's Metal Gear. They're not relying on the fact that the game is really really good. So I don't know. I'm not sure how big of a loss it is that this game is not releasing because I don't know if it played very well. But I do know what I will say. If this is the same IDW I'm thinking of, they make a lot of decent comics. I believe they did a very didn't they do the Sonic comics as well? IDW, yeah, that name does sound familiar. They've also done Transformers comics that I remember the community seemed to very much enjoy. IDW is known for like, if this is the same one, they're known for quality, but I've never heard of them making like quality board games. So I don't know how good it would have been. Yes, they did make the Sonic thing. If you search up IDW, it's a second image. Yeah. So I don't know if you were a fan of the Metal Gear Solid board game. I don't like go 3D print your own shit. I don't know. The character pieces from looking it up look really simple and easily 3D printable. Didn't look super quality. So I don't think you're missing out on much. It's probably similar. If it's a board game like this, board games have already been done to oblivion. It probably isn't all that creative. It's probably similar to some other type of board game. Just print out your own Metal Gear Solid standy figure things and play that with it. Play Monopoly with Metal Gear Solid figures. There you go. There's your solution.
I feel like Monopoly already has Metal Gear Solids.
Oh God.
Knowing all the Monopolies they have.
Yeah, that is true. We'll move on here to a story from Daily Mail UK, dailymail.co.uk. Keep in mind, this can be taken with a grain of salt. Daily Mail are known to report on some false stories, but I did check this one against a bunch of other things, and it seems it is actually legit. The future is here. No, it's not. The world's first flying car that travels 100 miles per hour at altitudes of 10,000 feet is cleared for takeoff by the FAA, and a full air road hybrid is set for 2022.
I think I saw this.
We saw this a while ago.
This car that they're showing, I swear to God, I have seen, and like it just if you search up flying car, this is one of the 3 results that pop. Well, like this is one of the results other than clip art that would pop up.
Yeah, I think the best part is how it is by technicality a flying car, but it looks nothing like you'd fucking expect. It's a plane.
It's just a plane.
It looks like a Cessna from the future, and it has wheels.
Yeah, it looks like you bent a plane a little bit, like a small plane.
Yeah,
that's really it.
The wheels don't even look like they're supposed to be functional, but I guess they are.
Yeah, they really don't. It's very clearly.
Oh, I know what they look like. They look like a Hess truck. You know what those?
Yes,
are?
they do. Yeah. Oh,
like
yes, they do.
Oh my god.
They look exactly like a Hess truck. That is very, very accurate.
When we gonna have the Hess flying car?
This is clearly first gen. That's all I can say. This is very, very clearly...
Beta. It's beta.
This is the first generation
like I
product.
said, I forgot to mention, like, you could search up flying car in 2010, and that's what would pop up. That thing's been around for a while.
This is definitely a first gen flying car technology. It hopefully it's only up from here.
Wings.
Yeah, hopefully it's only up for here in terms of design. Because, man, I really do not fucking like it. I do not like how it looks. I also love how it's called a car. This thing looks too wide to drive on any road.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Unless the wings are
with the wings folded, it looks
the back wheels and how much they jut out is what makes me think it's not.
But what? Why are we making flying cars? That wouldn't work. Like flying laws. What was it? Air regulation. Can't even fly a drone. What's the point of having a flying car?
We are definitely moving.
Oh, look, I have a flying car.
We're definitely moving faster than the government is able to regulate things. That's
not
for
even,
sure.
Not even that. But what in our society, I don't think a flying car is like good for it or even needed. Right, I know things we have things that are needed. I'm just saying a flying car is just one. You're like, okay, all right, we're just doing something to do something now. Because this one, I get electrical cars are great. I agree with that. But a flying car in the mass production, what is that for?
I literally think it's just like an easier way to fly a Cessna.
There will
like,
people will come up with
to transport it. It transports itself. That's literally the only selling point they have.
There are actually when you think about it, there are decent few selling points, and one of the biggest ones is you don't need if this goes as planned and regulation goes as planned, you don't need to own like an air hangar, for example. You don't need to own that for this. You wouldn't need to own a bunch of plane type of stuff.
You need a runway.
But you just drive your flying car to the runway.
I guess, but that just seems so unnecessary.
It eliminates a lot of travel costs by technicality, and then there's other things you think of that don't make any sense, like how the fuck are you going to get jet fuel?
Yeah.
Or not, plane fuel, but...
Are we mass producing plane fuel now? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, let's just ruin the oil reserves and even more. The already massively depleting oil reserves. All I'll say is it's first gen, and I really hope it's up from here. Because future flying cars, if this does pave the way, could look actually like flying cars and not like a bent plane that someone made in BMNG Drive.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of cool.
What do you mean flying cars are already out? You ever heard of the Bolide plane?
I hate how it looks, but this may end up being something we will see in museums in 100 years.
It could look worse.
It could.
That's all I'm saying.
Move on here to our final story before Zaire talks about his thing he wanted to talk about. This from ZDNet. Tracker pixels and emails are now an endemic privacy concern. And this article essentially talks about how they're just becoming a way bigger thing, and they can be as small as 1 pixel. They can be clear so you can't see them. I really thought tracking pixels kind of went, the way of the dodo. I thought they were pretty much dead. I thought it was a thing that, mad angry Craigslist sellers did back in the day. But it appears since there's still a security risk with them, and it's still easy to exploit that type of security risk, that they're still going, which is unfortunate. But I don't know how would you prevent a tracking pixel besides from getting any sensitive info aside from a VPN. This mentions like ways to block it. I briefly looked shit up and I couldn't find anything.
I really don't know. I don't know much about tracking pixels, so I can't really help you here with that one.
What it essentially is it's an image hosted on some type of network that the person who is being nefarious, the attacker, they have complete access to the network, whether it be locally hosted or they paying a hosting provider to host it and they're seeing that data. It's essentially, once you click that email, the tracking pixel's loaded in, and it can grab a bunch of data that it can grab by you looking at it, like your IP.
On a single 1x1 pixel.
Yeah. Grab your
Oh,
IP.
I do know about this. Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't talked about this with. I remember, Matt, you and I were talking about this for a while, but I haven't actually thought about tracking pixels in this way in years.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that actually brought up.
I never really heard of tracking pixels, and I'll be honest, it sounded way more complicated than it is.
I knew it's very simple of what it is, but it's just weird.
I think the first time I heard about tracking pixels is when Matt told me about it, when we were talking about a certain somebody that no longer talk to.
Wait, when?
Oh yeah, no, I can guarantee you it was before that because I talked about it with Craigslist, with that one fucking idiot Craigslist
I think it was
guy.
that, but like the only really times I heard about it is when you're talking about Craigslist and a certain person and their parents finding us.
Yeah, I remember the fucking Craigslist guy. I've told that story a million times. I still have a full like story and everything for a video on the worst ever Craigslist experience. I still have that like in Premiere somewhere. I never finished it because the one viewer who said he really wanted it, he just kind of stopped appearing in anything, and I have not heard from him in months. And he was really the only one like really pushing me to do it.
I wonder if he left because he didn't get the story out.
Maybe. But yeah, I really didn't think tracking pixels were a thing. I was kind of half joking with a lot of that. So it's interesting to see they're getting bigger again. And I kind of hope something finds some way to prevent it. It would be really nice if Google, although Google would, I don't think they'd ever do this. It'd be really cool if they would build in a slow but useful VPN that just auto enables internally whenever you enter Gmail. So all the information they get is, hey, here's Google servers, here's Google's this. That would prevent it. Would they do that? No, because the amount of like bandwidth consumed would be insane. But one of the easiest ways I can think of to prevent it is literally just whenever you go to your emails, open it with a VPN. That's it. Just have your VPN on. And I think almost all that data they would ever get is mitigated. They'll get the VPN IP, the location of the VPN server, etc., etc. They won't get your info.
How much exactly would they get? Just your IP or more?
I think the IP is the biggest thing. I'm not sure how much they would get.
You're kind of just screwed at that point.
Because the IP shows the location of your ISP, not exactly you.
It shows the general location of where you could be based on where those IPs have traditionally been. It does not show your exact address, though, luckily. That's never been a thing that's happened to my knowledge. But yeah, I don't know. Be careful when opening emails. I used to take precautions. Like, for a lot of last year, I'd only open my email with a VPN, and I kind of stopped because I'm saying whatever. But I will definitely start doing it again because this is concerning. So yeah, be careful out there. Use a VPN when you're opening emails. I think you can just like run your own VPN with the OpenVPN stuff. That you can download from the OpenVPN, whatever it's hosted. I don't know. It's an open source thing. That's a very easy, free way to mitigate it, to my knowledge. I could be wrong there on how much it mitigates, but yeah. Be careful out there with opening emails. So that's all the written topics we have. Zara, what do you want to talk about?
Okay, so I use this site for Steam keys, right? Because I've been ordering Steam keys. I've used it a lot now, and I decided to get Fallout 3, right? An old game. I was like, you know what? Let me try it. And so I didn't know at the point. I just bought it because it was like $3, and I bought the game, and I loaded the game, and I guess now since it was made in like 2008, I think it won't run. If you download it off of Steam right now, it will not run natively. You have to install mods just to get the game to base run. And that was one of the weirdest things I wouldn't have thought right now could happen. Like, I don't know. I just thought it was weird. I just wanted to bring it up. Just like, has that ever happened to you guys? Like, older games just don't run on Steam anymore?
That exact scenario with that exact game has happened to me. Because
I have the mod. I actually figured out if you need it, I have the.
No, I got it a while ago. I tried Fallout 3. I didn't really like it, so I'm installed it. I got a free key of Fallout 3 from something. I think it was a giveaway in one of the Discord servers I was in. I got it. I'm like, oh, cool. And I downloaded it. Didn't work.
Yeah, no, when you hit play, it just closes.
Yeah, I ran into that and I couldn't fix it for an hour, and then I finally found the fix. I'm like, oh, okay.
It took me
annoying.
like 10 minutes, and then I went to discussions. No, it's not Bethesda. That's not Bethesda. That's actually it's being made in 2008.
Yeah,
and I think the last time I think the latest one it will run on is Windows 8. Like genuinely.
I think the best part is I don't have the game anymore, but I know because I've ran into it a couple times, like going through my Windows files. Somewhere in my Windows files, I still have the mod manager for it. It's still there.
What is the mod manager called? It's called.
Mine's literally Fallout 3 manager.
No, the way I use it was games for Windows, and you have to delete the games for Windows thing.
Oh, I didn't have that, but I still had to get a mod for it, and I just used a community made modder.
Oh no, Nexus mods? Did you use that?
No, I didn't use Nexus mods. I used it was literally called like Fallout 3 launcher.
Oh no, I didn't do that. But no, I just thought it was weird. I was like, oh, make sure before you buy it, make sure older games you have them working before you buy them. You have a way to actually play them.
Yeah,
that actually happened to me, and I was actually kind of upset because I did buy it off a other site. So I was like, oh dang, I just wasted $3 on a game that won't work ever.
Yeah. Oh, that brings something to my mind that I should bring up. I got Spore recently.
I saw that,
and I've been playing the shit out of it. I had an issue when I first opened it where I could not click anything in it. And what I figured out pretty quickly, there's no documentation of it online. Most people have tons of crashes and a bunch of other issues I have not had any of, which is pretty cool. I've not a single crash, except for one time closing the game where I know what caused it, and it was me hitting too many things at once, so I don't count that. But I just couldn't click anything, and I thought, wait a minute, let me try forcing it to go windowed mode, and then force it to borderless with a different program I have. So I put the command arguments in Origin to make it start windowed, and then I enabled it in my borderless full screen thing that forces it to that, and it worked fine. So there's just shit like that with very old games that it doesn't work properly at all, and you have to do really weird fixes to get it to work. So I know what you mean. I kind of just want to say it for anyone who runs into that problem with Spore, because it's completely undocumented.
Oh, wow.
You literally just force it to windowed, and then if you want it in full screen, I have an application that's free called Borderless Gaming. And you just download that. It's like a blue square with 4 little white blue triangles at the corners, and it just says BG.
Oh yeah, we did use that. I like it. It's really helpful.
Yeah, I use it on Titanfall 2 as well, because that doesn't have a borderless mode.
And for speed runs.
I might use this.
Yeah, and there's some things it doesn't work on.
Make sure in your older games nowadays they can run on Windows 10, which I'm assuming you have. So Fallout 3 won't run if you don't have a mod for it, which isn't even bad. It's just commonly known. I just wasn't paying attention. I just kind of bought it because it's $3.
Yep.
And if anyone wants to play me in Uno, come catch these hands.
Okay. Yeah. So thank you guys for tuning into our.
I want to mention one more thing.
Okay.
The Nintendo Direct was streaming. Meanwhile, we're doing the podcast.
I'm aware.
And I believe the only thing that I have noted was that there's a new Mario Golf game. That's literally it. And
why? What?
I know people like.
Well, Mario it's Golf. Cool to see.
People like.
And
Mario
also
Golf.
Now motion controls actually, you can use motion controls. You can work on your swing.
Well, but you could on the Wii.
But now you have it in high quality.
I wouldn't even say that, because the Wii did have some high quality motion tracking. With later games,
the graphics, and there's
the graphics
game apparently, but that's and also anime games and whatever. The Xenoblade, I don't know, but All
right. Well, thank you guys for tuning into our anniversary episode. If things go to plan, this should release on YouTube and Spotify at the same time on Tuesday. If it doesn't, I'll definitely add everyone to the server and let you know. But this should end up on Spotify along with every other previous episode. I've been slowly backing them up and getting ready to dump them all to Spotify. I just need to figure out exactly how to do it, but I think I have it figured out. But thank you guys so much for tuning in for a year now. Hope for another
10 years strong, then we die. Let's go.
Definitely hoping we stick around for a long time. Thank you for your continued support, and we'll see you guys next time.